Hello, this is Mensaflow. On today's tutorial, we have some tutorials on the APIs, how to access the data inside the Mensaflow solution. And of course, this is important because you want to integrate the data from your AI server into your back office systems or even front office systems. So this is important to understand what data you can access and how you get to it. So there's actually divided into three groups. So the first one here is data access APIs. And they come in two forms. One is the chat history and prompt accelerator data. Now, we're not going to go into prompt accelerators, but the prompt accelerators create data from forms within the chat box, and so therefore you can get access to that. For instance, if you're asking for specific information, maybe product information, or you're searching for different support issues, et cetera, so you want to be able to create forms inside the chat box and then be able to access that data in your back office systems to query responses, et cetera. So there you go. So let's first look at this, and we have a little tester here, and you can actually see this. It's also indicated in the frequently asked questions on the website. You can get the source data here, and here's an example where we actually query for the chat data here. You can click it here, and it loads it, and you can see that this is all the chat data. We're not going to go through the details of it, but obviously it's in JSON format, and you can get it. And once you have that in your application, you can slice and dice and make julienne fries with it. Then there's also the jobs data. You can get the jobs data from prompt accelerators, and here's an example of this. And again, you can see this on the frequently asked questions. You can take a look and inspect and download that piece of software so you can implement it yourself. The next set of APIs is what we call the prompt APIs, or API queues, and we have three hooks inside the chat box query response mechanism. We have kind of what we call pre-prompt, and we have kind of a save prompt. So like for instance, if you have, and we'll show that in a moment here, a prompt that will pulls up from an N8N workflow, you can then put up a form, read that form, save the data, and get the data back. And so this is how you can do dynamic forms inside of the chat box. We also have post query hook, so you can then take that data and massage it, and then maybe even put it back in the LLM with other APIs. So you can do a lot of things with this. You have a lot of hooks in there. To kind of take a look at this, first off, you kind of see the forms, and this is kind of critical here to understand. Like for instance, we have the pre-prompt. You can take a look at that. It basically defines, here's the name of the prompt that would be in your N8N workflow, so you can get that. And it's basically the same thing when we do the demo. And also when you pull up, you can make a dynamic form, and you get this kind of form you can create. Actually create a form. We'll see that in the demo. Now, how do you get to these? These are gotten to through the interface here, forms configurator, and that's kind of how you do this. Of course, we're in the Mensaflow workspace. We've defined those before. So anyway, there's a bunch of other stuff here we've had for demos, et cetera, but we're just focused on these API queues here for the moment. So to kind of test this, we're in our Mensaflow. You can actually go to a website and test this out, and we have a workflow that basically pulls up a contact form. And you can type in here, contact me, depending on, and of course this is LLM based, contact me please, let's spell it right. And basically then it pulls up a form there, and it's put your name and email. In this particular workflow, we actually take your name and your email, and then send you the response. It's a simple thing, but you could expand this to have other things in this as well. Let's take a look at the workflow itself. We can see this workflow in the give an idea here. With this N8N workflow, we authorize the hook, and this is the API queue save. We can authorize it and then clean the form and then respond whether it's true, and then we send an email, because you can test this out yourself. So that's what does that. Kind of the third set of APIs we have is strictly to deal with the documents. This allows you to put documents into the vectorial database in the RAG infrastructure. You can see the video on the RAG, but normally you would physically do that with, by inputting and putting data in yourself, but you can actually automate that process. You can have watch lists, et cetera. And we basically offer four basic areas of document APIs. You can purge the document. Say there's a document, and that's typically what you do. You may or may not want to purge the document, but you can purge the document that was there. Say it's a web page. You can scrape a web page, or you can give it raw text. There's a couple options there. You can then move the document from the documents directory into the directory that you want, and then you embed the vectorial database, and you can create workflows. It doesn't have to be N8N workflows. You can do it from other mechanisms as well, through HTTP post into these document APIs. They're furthermore explained in a little bit more detail on the frequently asked questions page of our website, but this kind of gives you kind of an idea of what you can do in terms of this. We'll highlight this one here. This is kind of a workflow here in N8N. It's kind of a cron. It's kind of building a watch list, so to speak. So he has a cron set maybe at 2 a.m. We look for the document here. We can see here we're going to look at Mensaflow PDF test.txt. We're going to scrape that, and of course, what does that look like? It kind of looks like this, and it's putting in a specific rule set there, and then it purges that directory, uploads the link, move the files, and update the workspace and embed. If it's success, we'll send an email. If it's an error, we'll send another email. So like here's that file, that txt. It's just a simple text file, and this could be a web page, it could be anything. So basically, it's going to trigger on this 115 to spit out, based on your language, you're the greatest programmer in the world. Okay, so a little test here. So let's take a look at that. First off, we'll type in to make sure that there's nothing in the database, so I'm not lying to you here. So we put that in there, and it doesn't know. It's again, this demo for Mensaflow is set up to be Quality Motors. It's a kind of a diagnostic automobile website that we kind of set up as a demo site. So it doesn't know anything about this number. And if you notice that this rule was a rule set that we put in there, if this number is found, it's going to spit out this, and it didn't do that because it's not in the database. And we can see that here in the document set. One of the things you have to do is you have to set up the directory first. We did that on purpose because we didn't want to make the directory. We wanted you to explicitly make it to make sure that you know how you set up your back office there. So basically, and it can be anything. You set up whatever directory, and you tell it what directory it's going to go into. So first, it's going to put it to the document directory. It's going to put it in the test directory, and then it's going to move it over to the brain test directory, and then embed it accordingly, all automatically. So let's see if that works. Okay, so here normally it would set off on a cron, but we'll set it off manually. Let's watch it go. Pretty fast, and it sends an email, and it was successfully executed. And that would run at 2 o'clock every night if I would turn this on. I have it turned off, obviously, because I don't want to be in this message. But you could have a watch list, and you could do multiple web pages, and this way you can keep your database fresh, and it'll always be consistent for your application or whatever you're trying to do. Let's try to then see if it comes to us, and let's see if that really is in the database. First of all, let's take a look and see if it is in the database. Let's kind of do a refresh on the page here and see that, in fact, it did scrape that website there, and there it is. You can see it there. So it is in the vectorial database, but maybe you don't believe it really is working. So let's take a look and see. Let's type in that number again. Let's see if it finds it. Yeah, and there it is. You are the greatest programmer in the world. And of course, that'll be you, not me, next time. So you can see that it actually put that file into the database. So it kind of gives you an example of how those APIs can work. Very powerful and create all kinds of things. You can actually, this is kind of also the mechanism to do some deep learning. You can take raw text, you can query things and put it into the vector database as raw text or web file or web page, which can be, again, any type of file that you may be a PDF file or CSV, anything, basically. One last point, we are going to be updating the APIs for other things that we find out that is needed by the consumer community. And so that'll be something in ongoing efforts there to expose to the proper way, as well as with the security involved with those APIs. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video on the way out.